Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest regarding Brexit and Northern Ireland, as a survey of chartered accountants says that the protocol has provided positive opportunities for the area, and Liz Truss continues to talk up cooperation with the EU rather than the more aggressive rhetoric of recent times. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So Brexit, of course, is a mass of contradictions because it was based on a series of lies. And nowhere were the lies bigger than when it came to Northern Ireland. So it should come as no surprise that the contradictions of Brexit reality are also greatest here. The UK chose to leave both the customs union and the single market. That means by international law, we need a customs and regulatory border between us. But it can't be inside Ireland for the sake of not just the international treaty we signed 2 decades ago, but because peace depends upon it. Theresa May agreed the backstop that meant that the UK would remain aligned with the EU until such time as the digital borders that were supposed to manage the process invisibly could be implemented. But despite the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg insisting that this technology already existed, absolutely it can solve the problems, they knew full well that it didn't exist, and so they voted against this solution. So then Boris Johnson arranged the Northern Ireland Protocol, a system whereby the customs and regulatory border would be shifted between Britain and Northern Ireland. Even then there were fudges. Despite all the wailing and gnashing of teeth, this border is not a full trade border in the sense that, say, exists between Britain and France. It's a pragmatic solution which protects the integrity of the single market, and none of whose current members voted for this mess, remember, whilst avoiding unnecessary trade problems inside the UK. The trade border, for example, exists only in one direction. Even then, the checks required are lighter. And this presented Northern Ireland with an opportunity, according to Boris Johnson. They would have the best of both worlds, he said. And he was right. It was the only truthful and accurate thing he said ever regarding Brexit. Northern Ireland can export freely to both the rest of the UK as well as the EU. Unique in Europe in having this freedom of trade in goods at any rate. Nowhere else has this capacity. And we could see this reflected in the trade figures. As Europe looked to recover from 2020, Northern Ireland became the only part of the UK to get back to pre-pandemic levels of productivity. Whilst Britain's exports have been falling, Northern Ireland's have been increasing, and in both directions. Northern Irish businesses have a competitive advantage over EU businesses when selling to Britain, and over British businesses when selling to the EU. It's not all beer and skittles. A business that relies upon importing from Britain may have more difficulties. There are other issues with services, so on. But in terms of goods, some Northern Irish businesses have shifted suppliers to the Republic or further afield in the EU. Some haven't done so for whatever reason. It might be because it's not possible, because they get their supplies, there's no equivalent supplies in the EU, or perhaps a less business-focused decision, whatever. But the point is that although it's not all one way, the net effect is generally positive for Northern Ireland businesses. I mean, not necessarily better than if we'd stayed in the EU, but given that we left, and given that we left under a hard Brexit situation, it's a positive. And this has now been reflected not just in the trade figures, but also a survey of chartered accountants in Northern Ireland. These guys have a good overview of how big business is succeeding or failing in Northern Ireland because they arrange their tax affairs. 81% of them have said the protocol is working in favour of Northern Ireland. A similar figure think that Brexit is being handled badly. However, there appears to be a large number who worry that the reputation of the region is suffering. Particular scorn appears to have been reserved for Stormont, though no group seems to have come out with a majority giving them much credit. And there are definitely worries, the rising costs, struggling to get access to EU workers, because remember that although Northern Ireland retains access to the single market for goods, which is how you avoid the need for physical checks, it doesn't extend to the other freedoms of the market, really. Obviously, Republic of Ireland workers are free to work in Northern Ireland, essential part of the Good Friday Agreement, and indeed agreements before it anyway. But other EU workers face the same restrictions as they do working anywhere in the UK. Because there are 4 freedoms of the single market. Goods is usually the one that's talked about the most, but there's also capital, services and people. The Northern Ireland Protocol only covers goods, really. So there are still problems, though remember that those problems are a result of Brexit, not the protocol. Brexit is being shot at. the protocol is being given a bulletproof vest. That it doesn't completely protect you is not because the vest is harmful, just that it can't prevent all of the bullets causing you harm. Of course, there is still scope for pragmatic solutions on the ground to ease some remaining problems, and the EU Commission have come up with several proposals that would reduce trade friction between Britain and Northern Ireland. The UK government have so far rejected them on the basis that they don't want, this trade friction at all, even though they signed up to it in their own treaty. But the point is, there are solutions on offer which would make even more businesses look positively on their post-Brexit settlement in Northern Ireland, and only the UK government stand in the way. Obviously, the DUP instalments are none too happy either, but they are currently crashing and burning. Sinn Féin are currently so confident of victory this May that they've told the Irish government to prepare for reunification. Obviously, a border poll could still be some way off, but the main objection now to reunification is something that unionists don't seem to be grasping. I've said before, this best of both worlds is actually quite a good boost to businesses in Northern Ireland. They export to countries all around them. If the Northern Ireland Protocol was collapsed, they would lose their capacity to trade freely with the EU, economically ruinous, without even mentioning the social aspect. But if Ireland were reunified, then they'd lose that free trade with Britain as well. Well, that's like their biggest market. This would also be economically very bad. But pragmatic unionists seem to have been locked away somewhere, because all you ever hear are the shouts of the protocol being a barrier to their ideology, a problem for unionists. But we'll see if anything changes on that front, depending on what happens in May, I guess. In the meantime, Liz Truss has also been sounding more cooperative. There have been suggestions that there is a concerted effort for the West to present a united front against Russia's aggression at the moment. Whether this is the reason or not, Truss has recently been talking up the prospects of a cooperative solution. She's also reported to be saying that she wants to build a stronger relationship with the EU. This is a big departure from the EU must die rhetoric of hardline Brexiteers in her party, which is curious in itself, because she seemed to be wanting to court the favour of these MPs in order to garner support for the eventual leadership bid. And I wonder if she's decided that Johnson is maybe safe for now and there's no point in staying in campaign mode for too long for fear of pissing MPs off who want her to do more than spend days on photo opportunities. It's not even like she's any good at them. But whatever the reason, the fact is that Truss has massively dialed down the antagonism when dealing with the EU Commission, which sounds like positive news. Because at the end of the day, improvements to the protocol are on the table. It only needs Boris Johnson to approve them and they can be implemented. But herein lies the age-old problem. The hardline Brexiteers in his party do not want that. Apart from simple ideology, there is a practical objection to the protocol. As I've said, it's actually good for Northern Irish businesses by and large. The trade figures have already shown that they are outperforming the rest of the UK, relatively speaking, in terms of exports, and that will continue to be reflected in the latest data, because they don't have whack-eye trade barriers with their nearest neighbours. If you ease the protocol even further, it will boost Northern Irish exports even further, and that will only highlight this gulf between the opportunities in Northern Ireland and those in Britain even more. Brexiteers cannot afford to have the only part of the UK that did not fully exit the single market be the part that is the shining beacon of their post-Brexit world. And there is still a risk that we will do something insane, like unilaterally scrap key parts of the protocol illegally, because Liz Truss might be adopting a more constructive tone. She's doing so because it is in her interests. She hasn't actually agreed to anything yet. But Boris Johnson still faces the prospect of a vote of no confidence. If the police fine him, and it's discovered that he's been fined, so now he's an official criminal, or even if the evidence against him is published for the public to see without the fine, or if Sue Gray's report, even without the evidence and even without the fine, is as damaging as some think it is, Johnson could still suffer a fatal collapse in confidence in the public, but more importantly amongst his MPs. So MPs would panic, and maybe a groundswell of them would move again to try and get rid of him. It may well be that Johnson's last defence is the nuclear option of agreeing to scrap the protocol if the hardline Brexiteers support his leadership. It could well be the case that they go to him and say, look, Boris, or Alex, whatever they call him, we'd love to support you, but you don't seem to be supporting us. Like, the protocol's really bad. You've said it's really bad. You've said that we should be able to scrap it. If you scrap it, we'll support you. If not, we're writing our letters. Would Johnson want power so badly that he would do it? Depends how long he thinks he can survive the international reaction, I suppose. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further. Please also click the Patreon link for details, and until next time, I'll see you later.